Mario Party 4 took the series to a whole new console for the first time. With the first 3 games from the N64 from 1998 to 2000, plus the release of the GameCube in 2001, it was time to migrate the series in 2002. I grew up playing Mario Party 4 more than I did with any other game in the series. We did have 8 for about as long as I can remember, and we did get 9 and 10 when they came out, but even still, Mario Party 4 easily takes the crown as my most played Mario Party game. So today, we'll be ranking all the minigames in Mario Party 4 from worst to best. This list will only include minigames that are playable through party mode with the exception of Bowser minigames. So, Bowser minigames, story minigames, etc. minigames, and extra room minigames will all be excluded for a total of 40 minigames. And yes, battle minigames will be included. Lastly, as per usual, this list is subjective, and so your thoughts may be different from mine. With all of that out of the way, let's go. Number 40, right or left. I hate this minigame with a burning passion and I cannot stress it enough. It doesn't even matter if your teammate is human or not. The controls suck and are a bit confusing to get right at times, and you're always brushing up against the walls even more than you try to avoid it. Oh, and then there's the fire-breathing Bowser statues. Easily my most hated minigame. Number 39, Bowser's Bigger Blast. They took a Mario Party 2 minigame and updated the graphics so that it belongs in a GameCube game. Why was this minigame brought back? Anyway, it's 100% luck and 0% skill. And I'm not just saying that. You pull a switch and just hope the bomb doesn't blow up. They changed nothing from Mario Party 2, but added 2 letters to the name to make it seem like a bigger deal. Number 38, Mario Speedwagons. This one's just weird. It's like Mario Kart, but with a very short and straight path that'll get you to the end in a matter of seconds. Just accelerate and shift gears, and that's really it. I'm not a fan of this one, even though I'm pretty okay at it. Number 37, Rumble Fishing. It's just about your reflexes here. Press A when the controller vibrates as quickly as you can, and that's it. The more accurate you are, the bigger fish you get, and that's all there is to it. It's an okay minigame. Number 36, Slime Time. I'm good at this minigame, but it's super anxiety-inducing. You have to give yourself carpal tunnel, and if you try to get even a slight break, you have to restart. By that point, it may be too late to win because the others are likely ahead. Number 35, Parasailing. This one's an okay coin minigame. One person controls the boat and the other collects the coins. The controls are a little odd at times, especially for the person on the parachute. Number 34, Take a Breather. Alternate the L and R buttons more than others to stay underwater the longest. Yeah, that's about it. It's a quick and simple minigame and there's not really much else to say about it. Number 33, Mario Medley. You race in a swimming pool and there's 3 laps. Each lap plays a bit differently, which is cool I guess. The first one you press A and B simultaneously. The second one you press L and R alternatively. And the third one you press A and B alternatively. However, you have limited stamina. If you go too fast, you'll have to regain stamina, but if you go too slow, everyone's gonna be ahead of you. I can never seem to get that speed that's just right, and once I do, I have to change my controls, which my rivals have already done by that point. It's not a bad minigame, just not one of my favorites. Number 32, Butterfly Blitz. This one's pretty forgettable to me for some reason. Catch a bunch of butterflies and whoever gets the most wins. I do like how some of the butterflies are worth different amounts of points. Other than that, I tend to forget this minigame even exists 90% of the time. Number 31, Candlelight Flight. A 1 vs 3 minigame where one person has a candle and the other 3 have water guns. The ones with the water guns have to take out the one with the candle by shooting them with water a few times. That's really all there is to it. It's an okay minigame. Number 30, Cheap Cheap Sweep. It's a lot like Butterfly Blitz, but in water and in teams. This one's got a lot more strategy involved too, as you can't move too fast or else the Cheap Cheeps will just swim away. You also need to empty the net in the respective caged area, as your net can only hold up to 3 at a time. Number 29, Paths of Peril. I might be placing this one pretty low, but I tend to have a hard time with it sometimes. Sometimes I'm really good, and other times I'm just really bad. The narrow path is really nerve-wracking, which is likely intentional. Oh yeah, and I think the split paths are kind of interesting. Number 28, Long Claw of the Law. I was going to rank this one like 10 places higher, but I have no reason to. The concept is alright, but the wanted enemies are annoying to get when you have to wait for the door to open just for you to find out that the enemy you were looking for isn't even there, and that someone else is already 2 whole points ahead of you. It's not bad per se, but if you're not doing it right, it's not very fun. Number 27, Money Belts. Run on a conveyor belt and collect coins. I'm not really sure what there is to say beyond that. Number 26, Fish and Drips. An interesting minigame where you have to fill up giant tubs with water to put a Cheep inside. First one to fill wins. The solo side is given a sequence of buttons to press in a certain order to fill it up, while the team side is given a bucket where each player has to press one button to give it to the next. Honestly, the team side has it easier here, since the solo side has to restart the sequence with even a single mistake in doing so. The team side just has to try again and press the right button, and it doesn't restart. So it's good, just not very balanced. Number 25, Tree Stump. 3 people get into these giant stump robots with spikes and try to kill the other person. It sounds unbalanced, but the robots move fairly slow and strangely, so it surprisingly isn't all that bad. Number 24, Goal! A soccer game with 3 people shooting 3 balls at one goalie. Sounds like even in realistic teams, right? Jokes aside, I've never been good as the goalie with this one. The concept is alright, but it's a bit unbalanced. Number 23, Bob-omb Breakers. You gotta have a puzzle game somewhere in Mario Party. Bob-omb Breakers is an interesting one since you can go into other people's boards and steal points from them, or mess them up with parts they don't need. First to 100 points wins. It's a pretty cool puzzle minigame. Number 22, Mr. Blizzard's Brigade. Slide around on the ice while dodging snowballs. If you get hit with a snowball, you're frozen and you're done. I like how it gets harder after more time passes since more snowmen start throwing snowballs. Number 21, Hop or Pop. 3 people go into these bouncy balls with awkward controls, and the other person goes into a spiky ball with awkwarder controls. Assuming awkwarder is a word. Anyway, despite the weird controls, the premise is basic. The bouncy ones bounce to move, and the spiky one rolls and tries to kill the other 3, basically. Number 20, Avalanche. Ski down a mountain and don't get caught in the avalanche. First one off wins, assuming you, don't get caught. It's a minigame I tend to forget about, but it's pretty fun. Number 19, Hide and Go Boom. 3 people hide in 4 cannons. The solo side has 3 candles to light for all but 1 fuse. I like the concept, but it gets annoying when 2 or more people end up in the same cannon. I guess it adds a bit of challenge though. Number 18, Photo Finish. Here's another one that I almost placed too high. It's an 8-piece jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, that's really it. It's a nice minigame, but there's not much beyond that. Number 17, The Great Deflate. I used to have a weird obsession with this minigame when I was a lot younger. Well anyway, synchronization is key in this minigame for the best results. Ground pound this inflatable flomp until it is, well, deflated. A solid minigame overall. Or would it be a gaseous minigame? I don't know. Number 16, Chain Chomp Fever. While there's probably a fair share of dodge the enemy type minigames, this one's pretty unique in my opinion. Firstly, there's more to pay attention to than just the chain chomp. For example, the cracks in the ground can have fire leak out, and if you touch them, you're out. Then, later on, if the chain chomp tries to go on a side where there's no wall, he'll turn again without pausing. It's a nice challenging minigame overall. Number 15, 3-throw. It's essentially throwing basketballs into hoops. It's pretty basic, but it honestly gets annoying when you're trying to throw a ball into a hoop but there's already a ball in there. I would have likely placed it higher otherwise. Number 14, Making Waves. This one looks a little unfair, but it's oddly fun. 3 people try to make waves in the pool and knock over the one person in the center. The weight gets a little weird, which is the oddly fun part. Just hope that the other 3 people don't go all next to each other in sync and attack like that. I mean, what? Number 13, Reverse-a-Bomb. Press the buttons to redirect the bob-ombs to the other side. If 10 blow up on your side, it's game over. It can get pretty intense at times, which makes it pretty fun. Number 12, Domination. I know this may just be a button mashing minigame, but something about watching all the womps fall is oddly satisfying. Especially if you're good at button mashing and get to see a lot of them. I probably placed this one too high though. Number 11, Manta Rings. This one's always been a classic for me. Swim through the most rings to get points. I like how this one you can also lose points if you hit certain fish. It also adds a bit challenge and can punish the cocky players, I guess. Number 10, Paratrooper Plunge. A coin minigame where you skydive and try not to get killed by paratroopers. It's a pretty forgiving minigame though, since you get multiple hits instead of just one, which is nice. I like how the bags are harder to get, which makes sense anyway. Number 9, Cliffhangers. As long as your teammate knows what they're doing, this one's pretty good. Climb a mountain during a snowstorm and hold on when the wind gets strong. If you don't, you will fall. I'm pretty good at this one, which is probably why I placed it pretty high. I don't usually see people talk about this one, so I'm not sure where others would place it. Number 8, Toad's Quick Draw. Use the cursor to pop the right balloon, which Toad will hold up the flag to say which one it is. It's good that Toad doesn't hold it up immediately, though that does make sense anyway. Get 3 correct to win. Number 7, Trace Race. This is honestly one of those minigames that you either love or hate, but it typically depends on your skill level. If you aren't that good at tracing the line, then you're probably someone who doesn't like the minigame. I'm just saying. Anyway, the premise is pretty straightforward. Trace the line accurately to win. Number 6, Dungeon Duos. This one's pretty iconic and makes good use of basically all the buttons on the controller. You and an ally must get to the end of the dungeon by going through a few trials. You start by pulling a lever to bring walls down. Then you use another lever to rotate these circular platforms, which one person jumps on to get across, then pull the other lever on the other side to get the other person across. Then do it again, but this time with a broken one. Then, go through the right pipe to get to the balloons, which you use L and R to inflate. After that, you have escaped. It's a pretty fun minigame overall. I really like it. However, I wanted to place it higher. I didn't, because I realized that most of this minigame is just button mashing and RNG. It's implemented really well though, and in a fun way. Number 5, Blame It on the Crane. 3 people get involved on a conveyor belt thing. One person controls a crane, and if one person manages to capture the other 3 in the time limit, then they do a really cool jump and win. It's always been one of my favorites. Number 4, Stamp Out. Control a stamp thing and paint the board whatever color you have. Obviously, the more you paint, the higher score you get. An interesting thing about this minigame is that you can go on top of other people's paints to decrease their score. Don't waste your time with it though, because this also works the other way around. Number 3, Team Treasure Trap. All 4 players navigate through a maze in the treasure hunt to find the chest, the key, and each other. I think it's good that the players usually spawn at the opposite side of their boxes. Not sure what to say beyond that. Number 2, Book Squirm. Everyone knows and loves Book Squirm. Run around on a giant book and don't get squished. The more pages you get through, the less spots you can go through, and the faster it gets. It's a pretty straightforward minigame, but pretty intense fun. Number 1, Order Up. A mix of memory and speed, and I guess a bit of luck. You and a teammate are given a bunch of food that get put into boxes, and they then rotate around. They stop, and Toad then tells you what food he needs. Now you and your teammate must find the 2 things he's asking for before the other team does so. Do this 3 times to win. I've always loved this minigame. And with that, we have ranked every minigame in Mario Party 4. This video took too long to make, but I'm glad I finally finished it. It's likely because I kept changing the ranks, but who even knows. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.